That's okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
about 30 years ago. I was no.
We can't see you guys anyway.
I know which chair you have to sit in.
Because I'm like, can't see me.
I know. I know.
No, I have them.
You got one? Okay.
One for each of you.
They don't cost extra.
What happens when you give them $25,000?
Hello.
Hi, Corey.
Real quick, hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you now. Okay. Do you want me to go? Is this just my show?
You know, in 1 second, we'll get you started here.
Okay.
Give me just a minute. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order, and the 5 o'clock hour here, we're just going to go through the finance review. We've got our auditor online here, and so I think board members, you got a copy of the audit here in front of us and everything, and then once we get done with this, we'll recess and then go down into the cafeteria and pick up with our regular agenda down there and get started about 6 o'clock. No awards tonight, I believe, so we're not worried about that. Just once we get down there, we'll pick up with regular business.
Yeah, Dan Pearson is still here to do
Okay.
present the local search fund.
Yeah, for she'll open us up down there.
Correct.
Look out agenda item. Okay. All right. I think now we can turn it over to Corey. And Corey, if you want to walk us through, and I first of all just want to say I appreciate the staff and you, Corey, for taking time to do this. I think it's really important for the board to hear directly from the auditor on the findings and the results each year, and just so that we know as board members where we stand and if there are deficiencies and if there's course of action or what have you. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you go right ahead.
Thank you. I feel like it's really important for us to talk to the board as well, even if it's just this way electronically. It's nice for you to see my face or my business partner's face and know that we exist and kind of be able to ask us questions. I think that's really important. So thank you for your time. I'm Corey with Accuity. I do want to say congratulations to Josie. She made it through her first audit. One of the things that made us be able to issue on time is Josie's really willing to ask questions and just say, you want this for me, but how best can I get it to you? How best should I be doing this? Did you want me to change this process? She did a great job of just being really responsive to us, but also being willing to learn and to change her process if she needed to. So Josie, congratulations on that. You did great. I know it's stressful. So, if the first thing I'm going to talk about is our required board communication, and I promise I won't be too long or too boring. We had 2 what we call significant deficiencies this year. They are the ones that have existed in your audit for a long time. And so nothing new from a internal control standpoint that we would be concerned about. They are the fact that we're drafting your financial statements for you with the disclosures. Josie is more than capable if it was just the numbers and just the schedules of the funds of drafting it, but with all the disclosures, it gets a little hairy. So we do that for you. Oregon requires that we do that for you. So it's just one of those things that accounting standards require us to document it if we do that for you. The other is segregation of duties. It's just your reminder as a board that you are an important part of the process because you have limited accounting staff. I'm sure if there was money for it, Josie would love to have 4 more people in the business office. There is not money for that, as we all know in school district finance. So This is not a ding in any way on her or her staff. It's just, it exists. The board needs to be involved, reviewing reports, asking questions, and just having the expectation that you get reports in a timely manner. So that's the only reason there. We did have one itty bitty, and when I say itty bitty, I had to break Josie's heart a little bit. You had one over expenditure in the seismic grant fund, and it was about $3,000. It was hardly anything. So, not a concern that there's a systemic issue. You guys did a great job, all of you actually, the board included, because you had to pass resolutions of watching budget categories and being very diligent this year. So it did break her heart a little bit. The good news is, like we talked about last year, we're budgeting special revenue all as one fund, keeping them separate within the accounting program, but as one fund. That'll make compliance a lot easier for 24-25. So that's exciting. But the other things that Oregon wants us to look at, we had no issue. Everything looked great. So that's the great news part of the audit. We also are required to tell you if we have any issues with how you're applying accounting policies. We don't. We didn't have any difficulties in performing the audit. We gave you a list of journal entries. If you looked through them closely, you'll note that there was really only one. There were three, but two of them had to deal with the investment accounts. You guys are a cash basis reporter. So when they're being reconciled, they're adjusted to fair value because that's what's on the statements. But for financial reporting, we have to report them at cost basis. Josie and I have talked about it a couple of times, and they're just going to keep doing it to reconcile how they need to. And then we'll just have this audit adjustment. We could also talk about just having a departure and reporting them at fair market value and just disclosing the heck out of it that's not, your actual cash basis. So we can talk about that too. And that might be easier. So then we don't mess with Josie's books with our journal entries. And then the other one, ODE will, and I've come across this one we came across again a lot this year. ODE will give you grant money and say this is like state funding, but in reality, it's actually federal funding. And when they report to us, they tell us something different. The library grants were a big one this year. If you read through the report, the actual grant agreement, it says state in there over and over again, but then it was a federal drawdown request. So we just reclassed revenue. Revenue was right. It was just what function it fell in. So the reason I go over that is because the decisions that you're making, the board reports that you're getting and seeing are accurate is what that tells you, because we just had to move buckets with revenue. We didn't change the amount of revenue. So that's a really nice thing for you to know is month to month, you're getting accurate data. We didn't have any disagreements with management. Like I said, they've been very communicative throughout the year, and we really appreciate that, asking questions. Jack's had a few questions as they came up as well, so that's been good. There were no outside accountants that were consulted with as far as like if there was a disagreement in how to apply an accounting policy, we're required to tell you that, and there weren't. And so that's about it for our board report. Did anybody have questions on that?
Board questions on budget?
One of the things said, one of the recommendations was more board, we're not recommending any changes in staffing, but the board of directors should be aware of the deficiency and remain involved. Are there any best practices that you could give us of what these are the essentials of how you should be involved in the, based upon this recommendation from you guys?
Yeah, so one of the most important things, we see issues happen when a board tells us that they haven't seen reports for months at a time. You're not getting regular reports. That would be a sign that something's wrong and you really need to push for regular reports. I know that's not an issue for you guys. I know this is going to shock you, but there's a lot of board members that get the financials every month and don't read through them and don't look through them. So looking through them, if you've been on the board for any length of time, you probably know what to expect in each, in the different areas, and just asking questions. If you're looking at expenditures, and something looks off, ask a question, that sort of thing. Paying attention to budget categories like we talked about. And again, if one's getting close, just saying, do we have a resolution for that? Or are we dealing with that? That sort of thing. So just eyes open, eyes and ears open. Nothing too in depth.
Anything else?
Corey, on the comments that, some of your comments will be perpetual, correct? Just because of the size of our school district, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so maybe kind of the jokey thing every year that, this is a situation. You can't fix it, but this is the situation, right? Because that's
Yeah.
what you're doing the work over. Thank you.
Yeah. We do, we can evaluate whether or not they can be dropped down. And we're always more than happy to do that. If you've been able to separate things out better, maybe if there was someone, part-time added and it kind of changed the makeup of things. The biggest thing is if there was an issue, would it be caught and corrected before we arrived? And so that's kind of the level we're looking at. And so, yes, it will exist. It doesn't necessarily have to continue to be a significant deficiency. So, yeah.
Stan Acebrook here. I'm really concerned now since July 1 or January 1 and new administration and the stop and all the stuff going on with federal grants and state grants. And just like you mentioned a little while ago, I don't remember what categories they're in where they got charged a state grant that came to you and it was actually a federal grant. And I'm really worried about that in our budget that, as you know, and we all know around this table, the importance of grants and how many of them there are, and they're endless. Just find them all. And when we strategize for the year, we talk about all these things, all these opportunities, and if we're successful, then all of a sudden they go bad. And what if we've done some preliminary work? I know I was talking with the head guy on the seismic thing, and he was whining about the fact that his boss wanted money, and we said in our contract it said no, until we get our money, you're not going to get your money, and which is good protection for the school district. But
Yeah.
districts do that, so I'm really concerned about that. Something this year we're going to be going into July 1. To be safe, I guess, more than anything, that we don't get ourselves in a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Budget-wise and running our programs, and then when it comes audit time, this whole thing is just really worrying me a lot.
Well, and add into that we've
all
seen
just a big old hocus pocus thing, just to bring everybody to the table to get serious. I don't know, but anyway, I do worry about the grants and the language to get them where they need to get and make sure that works out.
Mm-hmm. Well, and going into the 24-25 fiscal year, ESSER's gone. And, that was great money. And so we've had a lot of our school districts that are very concerned about filling that gap because that paid for a lot of staff. Lots of projects that needed to be done. So that's been a big concern. It's a real concern, is what does it look like? I'm hopeful that when federal funding changes that the state will be able to help more, but I also know that that's a big ask. That all hits us directly. So it's a very valid concern. Because continuing your programs is really important, especially in your school district. Giving your students all the opportunities you can is really important.
We tend to be pretty aggressive about applying for those, we're doing really well, but we don't want to get ahead of ourselves either. But I guess as long as you don't start pounding nails on the floor,
If I had a magic wand, I'd wave it for you. For sure.
Yeah, right.
And did you have any questions?
I don't.
Jana?
I don't.
Okay. I have one question, Corey, and I know Josie's came to the board several times asking what information we want to see at the board meetings. And so do you have a kind of standard reports that you would recommend that she provide to the board on a monthly basis?
That's a really good question. I think, I think that's,
And don't feel on the spot, but maybe if that's something Josie
well,
wants.
I was gonna say, I think I have districts that I really like their monthly packets that I could probably, Josie, send you them and we could model them to fit you. At the very least, a rolled up budget to actual. So not, you don't have to look at all 500 lines in the general fund, but the, instruction and support services and community services. So those specifically, budget to actual is really good. And then cash balances, again, doesn't necessarily have to be exactly printed from Visions, but a cash balances report that has this is like one of my favorite as a board member too, is that has rolling balances. So you can kind of keep an eye on what's going on with cash balances. A lot of times we just see that in, spit out into an Excel spreadsheet and added to every month. Is a really good one to just as a board, as a flyover report. And then revenues, again, budget to actual, what, how they're trending. So if there's going to be a big shortfall in something, Stan, like we say, in something like grants or something, you could anticipate that as well. So Josie, let me send you those, and
Beautiful.
yeah, then we can model them. 'Cause some of them are pivot tables out of Visions. So you don't have to update a spreadsheet. It'll do it for you, but it's a prettier board report because it's not so much detail.
It's not in Vision.
Yeah. But Visions will spit it out and be happy with it. So
Okay.
yeah, that's an excellent question.
Is there anything else on here you want to make sure the board hears or knows or?
No, just that she talked about and it did. I was like, wait, how was I out of budget compliance? And that was honestly a coding error in Seismic. They were coded to, I think.
Support services, I think.
Support services instead of
Yeah.
building acquisition. And so just one little bill got coded and I didn't catch it when I was going through things. So, right. It's awful.
Yeah.
I was like, no. But other than that, no, they were great to work with.
Okay. And then are we going to have a letter to send back to the state with the discrepancies and that we'll sign off on? And okay.
And it can be the same one that you sent last year, just updated to this year's dates.
Okay.
Yeah. The same responses. Yeah.
Jack, Kristen, you guys have?
Thanks to Josie
Yeah.
for all of her hard work.
Yeah, thank you, Josie.
For
Yeah.
doing all that. Did a great job.
You're on this whole new software system and everything's going fine there and helping track what you need. You have what you need, I guess.
Yeah, we went completely digital, which was really nice. They did the audit completely offsite this year because Rihanna scans all of the bills and attaches them in Vision. So they were able to sample everything from their access in Albany, which was great. And we didn't have to pull things here. So that's really good for us. I think it worked good for them.
It does. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it 1 year down.
Yeah.
It'll only get easier.
I hope so.
Okay. Well,
So for now, you have to train a new superintendent, right?
All right.
Yeah. That's gonna be a rough one. So, okay, if there's nothing else on the audit, I think we can close out this and then rejoin back in the cafeteria here at 6. We have a little bit of time to get down there. So Corey, thank you for logging on.
Thank you.
This evening and everything. We do appreciate it. And even if it's virtual, that's great just to hear from you and stuff. And so if you have one of these letters or whatever you need the board to sign off on, just let me know. We'll get those signed. So we can get back. So, yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
So let's go ahead and recess here for a little bit. We got plenty of